Because look how Garrett did against stellar competition. He had moments against David Onama, and then some of the other guys, like he fought Ronnie Lawrence like a couple years ago before the UFC, and he lost a decision. But look how he did. He survived. He went 3 rounds with Ronnie Lawrence. Can Christian fight like that against stellar competition?
Christian Rodriguez and Garrett Armfield fighting at featherweight. It's interesting because both of these guys are coming off of a loss to opponents who are very tough, who are mostly winners. David Onama and Jonathan Pierce is on an underrated win streak. And so Christian and Garrett took short notice fights against those respective opponents, and they lost. Garrett Armfield actually was starting to do good against David Onama. And I want to say, what's his name? James Krause was getting on to David Onama in the corner. He was like, look, man, you winning, but you're fighting lazy. And Garrett, you know, even though you're on another level a little bit, Garrett, he can get in this fight now. Truth be told, Garrett made a bad IQ decision. I'm going to talk about it. He made a decision that kind of led to that loss because David Onama started getting tired. And no, he started getting tired.
I'm saying, but what was Garrett going to do to David, though?
What you mean what he was going to do? He was putting hands on him. I went back and watched that fight several times. Now, obviously, in hindsight, the Nate fight with Nate Landwehr, obviously, we can't say that Garrett would have knocked him out because Nate put it on him and he didn't knock him out.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he would knock him out, but I think he could have started beating him down.
I think what happened in that fight, you know, they used to train together. Garrett and David Onama.
They fought once before, too.
They fought before, I think, when they were amateurs. David knew something about Garrett that we didn't know. I think David was tagging him up in sparring. Because the way Garrett fought him, like Garrett wasn't running away from him, but you can tell he was kind of like timid. Like he was kind of like, yeah, this guy.
Well, it was a short notice fight, and at the same time, you got to be worried about your cardio. But in that second round,
not even that, but David got fights that ended in less than 30 seconds. So he got a bunch of fights that ended in less than 20 seconds, actually. So you got to be when you fighting against guys like that, you got to be very careful.
And Garrett started putting it together right at the end, but what happened was he went for a lazy shot. And David Onama defended it, and then he ended up spinning around, like getting his back. And then it led to him taking his back and then working his way to mount and then going for the arm triangle. So it was really like a little bad decision on Garrett Armfield. Basically, he made one mistake and it just led to him losing. So
this fight actually taking place at bantamweight. You said featherweight.
Bantamweight.
Yeah, it's taking. I think they both dropping down. Yeah, this fighting, they both, because Christian Rodriguez.
It say featherweight right here.
Oh, but right here it says.
Oh, it does say 135.
135.
Oh, I guess they both.
Because they both featherweights, but they both fighting at 135 here, which is good for both their careers. Because they both small for featherweight, man. Look at Garrett. Look how small he was compared to David Onama.
But man, we look at Christian Rodriguez. Oh yeah, you're right, because he got out. He took a fight on short notice against Jonathan Pierce, who was on an underrated win streak. And he coming off of a huge win in London against Amir Khani. And Jonathan pretty much out-grappled him.
Then Christian is 5'7", and I want to say Jonathan is what, over 6 feet tall? So a lot of these guys, even though they're featherweights, they're tall. They're like 6 foot, 6'1". So if you 5'6", 5'7", and you fighting against these featherweights who are like 4 or 5 inches taller than you, you give up like a big, like, what, 4 or 5 inches?
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, I like Christian. He's well-rounded. He got pretty good striking. He's a creative striker. I would consider him that. He has underrated takedowns and submissions. He kind of almost remind me of like another version of Clayton Rodriguez. Because I was kind of getting them confused because they almost fight similar. And it ain't a whole lot of tape on either guy on YouTube.
That's what I was just saying. It's kind of hard to make an analysis on these fighters when they don't have many fights in the UFC. Yeah, Christian, he's smart, he's calculated, he's very patient, he's well-rounded. There's only one thing that I don't like about him, man. That's that takedown defense. He's been taken down like multiple times. How many times did he get taken down?
Well, against Jonathan Pierce, that's how Jonathan wins. He take people down and submit them. So if you're only lost
6 times
in the UFC,
yeah, Jonathan took him down 6 times.
But you know why that's impressive? Because Jonathan would have submitted a lot of people. He just submitted Amir Khani. So if you can submit Amir Khani on a full, as long as he's been in the UFC, if you can submit Amir Khani and then a short notice guy, you take him down 6 times and you can't submit him. For me, That's a huge W. So,
but Christian got some submissions himself, man.
I know, and he got some underrated submissions. See, man.
The only thing is, like, you have some fighters and like they get a bunch of submissions before the UFC, but it's like when they get to a certain level, it's almost like they submissions don't. It's like they can't submit nobody. It's like, dang, like you submit everybody.
You can submit people who push parts at Walmart and they fight on the side, but when you get to people who actually train jiu-jitsu every day, you can't get no submissions.
They're more well-rounded in the UFC. That's what it is.
Hey, one thing is, I just realized that Christian Rodriguez, I think most of his fights have been at 135.
Yes,
because his only loss has been at featherweight, and that was against Jonathan Pierce. So he actually went up in weight class on short notice and lost, and still got taken down 6 times and lost only.
That's a good point.
So, so we get it back to Garrett Armfield. Let's talk about the things he does good. Good body kicks, good overall striking. I'm not gonna lie, good overall striking. I like how he mixes it up with the hands and the kicks.
And he throw a lot of straight punches too. Like he can be wild, but like he's very technical. Like he's not like them guys who just throw it like what's the guy, Leonard Garcia? He's not wild like these guys.
And he got a lot of weapons on the feet. He throws straight punches. He can also throw in hooks. He got a good left hook, a jab, overhand right. He can throw knees in the clinch, good body kicks. Like he can mix it up very well. I don't know how he's going to approach this fight though, because obviously the grappling is going to be a no-go. If grappling was the way to just beat Christian as far as like going for a submission, then Jonathan would have been able to do it. So I don't think Garrett will be able to do that, and I don't think Garrett will be able to just grapple him like Jonathan did, especially now that they're going to be a similar size. It won't be a short notice fight against But at the same time, David Onama was way bigger than Garrett, and that's why that probably played a part in why he lost.
That's true.
So this is an interesting close.
One thing I'm looking at is them 2 submission losses from Garrett, and I'm looking at Christian, and Christian, he can submit him. He has a lot of submissions, man. So I'm thinking Christian got to get this fight to the ground, and I'm thinking Garrett got to get this. Garrett has to keep this fight standing up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking, man.
That makes sense.
Because I think honestly, like when they first announced this fight, I didn't think that Christian had a chance against Garrett. Because look how Garrett did against stellar competition. He had moments against David Onama, and then some of the other guys, like he fought Ronnie Lawrence like a couple years ago before the UFC, and he lost a decision. But look how he did. He survived. He went 3 rounds with Ronnie Lawrence. Can Christian fight like that against stellar competition? That's why when they first announced it, I was like, yeah, but he has way more experience. Garrett. Then Christian, Christian only fought 1 guy in the UFC, man. And Garrett, he's fought 1 guy in the UFC too, but he's fought Ronnie Lawrence and he fought other guys who are like stellar.
Let me go back. Okay, David Onama, Lawrence.
And the fact that he went 1 round with David Onama, that's a win right there.
It's 10-5. Let me see the records. Man, I'm looking at the records for some of these people that Christian beat, man, and he's supposed to look impressive against these type of guys too, man. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards Garrett now that we take that into consideration, because I'm looking at the records here, 19-36, which that's a lot of experience, but
oh yeah, he trained in Rufus Sport, Christian Rodriguez. It makes sense. Them arm bars. Yeah, he trained with them boys.
So that means this
Rufus Sport, man.
Anthony Pettis.
I just don't like. It's another thing I don't like about Christian Rodriguez is what he throw his punches to. He's technical, but he throw his punches on like upper body. Like his punches are not like crisp. They're more like, I can't really explain it.
I didn't notice that in the film.
Yeah, like his punches are not to hurt you. His punches are he want to get the fight to the ground. Let's be real. So like his punches are more to set up the striking to get the fight to the ground.
If he can fight that fight and get the fight to the ground, I believe he does win.
Yeah, but the thing is, Garrett, though, his punches. Garrett has 2 knockouts in less than 30 seconds. His second
against who?
But it's still impressive, though. I'm just saying how his hands are. His hands are more like seasoned.
You know what? Now that we're taking that into consideration, I think I'm going to lean more towards Garrett because he's fought the Ronnie Lawrences and the David Onamas.
Yes.
And Christian is neither one of those guys. Not right now. And I think Christian has a lot of potential. I can't pick him just because I like him. You know, I've done that in the past and made mistakes. And I think he has a bright future.
And he has 0 knockout losses and 0 submission losses.
Cool.
Christian.
Yeah,
so it's time. I'm saying it's time for him to get cherry popped, man. It's time for him to. It's time for him to get a.
I think I'm gonna lean more towards Garrett, man. And I'm not gonna. in the past I picked people who I liked more, and that ain't how this goes. So I'm gonna lean more towards Armfield just because, man, if you've been in there with David Onama twice, Ronnie Lawrence, who they're both doing well in the UFC right now, overall, I'm gonna lean more towards Garrett. Because Garrett was doing good, man, until I don't know if he got tired. I don't know what happened, man. You know.
And another thing is Christian had a lot of fights in Milwaukee. So it's like you in a different league now, man. Like this is UFC, and you might be fighting in Las Vegas this night, but then the next fight you might be fighting in overseas somewhere, man. I like both guys, but when they first announced this, easy win for Garrett.
I don't know if it'll be easy, but I'm definitely going with Garrett.
Or should I say easy pick?
Oh yeah, easy pick. Yeah, I'm going with Garrett too.